The desert was endless, a shimmering ocean of gold stretching beyond the horizon, its dunes whispering secrets older than any human language. The planet cared for had been abandoned centuries ago, labeled a dead world by explorers who found nothing but storms and silence. But to Dr. Marcus Hale, silence was never proof of death, only the promise of something waiting to be heard. His boots sank into the amber dust as he led the expedition across the dunes, the air shimmering with heat distortion. Behind him, the low hum of survey drones blended with the crunch of human footsteps. They had been searching for 6 weeks, chasing a signal that flickered like a heartbeat beneath the sands, a rhythm no geological process could explain. "Signal stable at 30 meters below," reported Dr. Leyland Kira, her voice calm but eyes burning with excitement. She brushed sand from her visor and added, "Same pulse rate as before. You sure this isn't some natural echo?" Marcus shook his head. No natural echo syncs perfectly with human alpha brainwaves. He adjusted the control band on his wrist and frowned. "It's responding to us." The team exchanged nervous glances. In the thin sunlight, the dunes looked almost fluid, like something alive. Marcus knelt and pressed his gloved hand to the ground. The sand was warm, but beneath it, he could feel a vibration, steady and deliberate, like a mechanical heart still beating after millennia of sleep. They began excavation immediately. The drones drilled to the upper crust, and after hours of blinding dust and static interference, the scanners finally revealed it. A vast subterranean city, entombed in crystallized glass and metallic stone. The structures were massive, arranged in concentric circles, their geometry too perfect to be natural. It wasn't ruins. It was preservation. When they broke through the final layer, a blast of cold air rushed out, the breath of something ancient awakening. The chamber below was immense, lined with walls of black obsidian carved with flowing alien script. As the dust settled, the glyphs began to shimmer faintly, as if aware of their presence. "What in God's name?" whispered one of the engineers. "Not God," Marcus murmured, stepping closer. "Something older." He reached out and touched one of the symbols. The moment his fingertips brushed the surface, the walls pulsed with light, rivers of gold racing outward like veins igniting under skin. A deep hum filled the air, low and resonant, vibrating through the stone and the very bones of those who stood inside. Every light in their equipment flickered. Communication lines went dead. The drones froze midair and then slowly rotated, lenses fixed on Marcus. "Sir," Layla hissed, "back away. Now!" But Marcus couldn't move. The hum was inside his skull now, a whisper that wasn't sound but thought. It spoke in flashes of meaning, not words. Welcome, air of thought, blood of continuance. The throne remembers you. Marcus gasped and stumbled back, clutching his head. Images flooded his mind, glimpses of alien cities that stretched across nebulae, beings of light and alloy, thrones suspended in zero gravity, and a vast empire burning in silence. He saw stars dying, worlds folding into themselves, and then a throne empty, waiting. When the vision faded, he was lying on the chamber floor. Around him, the air glowed with a faint golden mist. The others stared at him, not with fear, but disbelief. "Marcus," Layla said softly, "you've activated it." He rose unsteadily and looked around. The glyphs had formed a path leading deeper into the ruins. At the end of that corridor was a hall of colossal proportions, a cathedral of alien craftsmanship, with columns of liquid metal and ceilings that shimmered like starlight. And at its heart stood a throne. It was unlike anything human, a structure of bone-white alloy and translucent crystal, shaped like it had grown organically rather than been built. Strange veins of blue light ran across it, pulsing in rhythm with the same signal they had detected from orbit. It was alive. Marcus approached it slowly, his footsteps echoing through the vast emptiness. Every instinct screamed caution, but something deeper, older, urged him forward. When he reached the dais, the air grew dense, heavy with static. The throne surface began to shift, folding like liquid metal responding to his presence. "Don't!" Layla shouted, but it was too late. Marcus placed his hand upon the throne. The entire city responded. A blinding wave of light erupted outward, racing to the tunnels and chambers, igniting every symbol, every structure, every long-dead circuit. The ground shook as if the planet itself had been waiting for this moment. Instruments overloaded. Data screens burst into static, and every member of the team felt the floor as a hum turned into a resonant chorus. Marcus felt himself lifted, not physically, but in mind. His consciousness expanded, spreading like ripples across a black sea. He saw the city awakening, machines stirring, towers rising beneath the sand, and countless mechanisms humming to life. And through it all, one phrase echoed through his skull, a voice neither human nor mechanical, ancient beyond time. The Emperor has returned. When he came to, the light had dimmed. The chamber was calm again. His team stood frozen, staring at the throne. It had changed, reshaped itself into something new, something that reflected him. The crystal now glowed with a faint pattern resembling human DNA, and upon its crest burned a sigil, a fusion of alien script and human genetic code. Layla's voice trembled. "Marcus, it's keyed to your genome." He didn't answer. He couldn't. The weight of what had just happened pressed against him like the atmosphere itself. The alien voice still murmured faintly in the back of his mind, its tone reverent and possessive all at once. Heir, sovereign, continuance. He stared at his hands. They glowed faintly under the chamber's light, thin lines of energy tracing his veins like luminous ink. The city had marked him, claimed him. Outside, seismic sensors began to scream. The dunes above them were collapsing inward, not from destruction, but awakening. As the team scrambled for safety, they saw shapes emerging from the desert, towers of silver and gold, their surfaces gleaming in the dying sunlight. The city was rising, stretching its limbs after an eternity of sleep. Layla turned to Marcus, breathless. "What did you do?" He looked toward the horizon, where the sand now shimmered with light from beneath, like the planet itself was coming alive. And for the first time, he realized what the voice had meant. He hadn't discovered the city. He had awakened it. And in doing so, he had inherited something he didn't yet understand, the legacy of a dead empire that now saw him as its ruler. Marcus Hale, a simple archaeologist, stood amid the rebirth of a civilization 50,000 years older than humanity. And as the stars above reflected off the reborn spires of Erathon, a single, impossible truth echoed through his mind. They call me Emperor. When the dust finally settled, the world above Karathor's dunes was no longer the same. From orbit, the planet shimmered like a fractured jewel. Where once there had been endless sands, now rose luminous spires, towers of alloy and glass, reflecting alien constellations in their curved surfaces. The lost city had returned to life, its silent heart beating again. Deep below, Dr. Marcus Hale stood at the center of it all, surrounded by the hum of resurrection. The chamber around him breathed, walls pulsing faintly, as if alive. The others were still in shock, their instruments dead, their minds struggling to reconcile what they were witnessing. The first movement came from the shadows. Shapes began to emerge, constructs of glimmering silver and white, humanoid but ethereal, their edges soft like they existed half a dimension away. Their faces were smooth, featureless masks that reflected Marcus's image back at him. Yet there was intelligence behind them, awareness. The tallest of the constructs stepped forward and knelt. The gesture was slow, deliberate, ancient. Then, in a voice that was not sound but thought, it spoke. "We have waited. The line of the Emperor endures." The words echoed directly in Marcus's mind. He stumbled back, his heart racing. Layla raised her weapon instinctively, but Marcus lifted a hand. "Wait," he said. "They're not attacking." The construct's collective gaze turned toward him. Their voices, hundreds layered as one, resonated in his skull, like a chord struck on a celestial harp. Designation confirmed. Genetic anomaly complete. Flesh restored to throne. "Your radiant eminence, command shall be given." Marcus blinked. Eminence? Command? He looked around, searching for something human, something rational. But reason was unraveling by the second. The constructs moved with perfect synchronization, fanning out through the halls, reactivating machines and conduits. As they passed, lights flared to life, revealing murals carved into the walls. the story of a civilization that had once stretched across the stars. He could feel it now, data bleeding into his neural implant in waves. The city wasn't just showing him images, it was teaching him. He saw the rise of the Arathon Empire, beings of metal and mind who sought to merge consciousness with machine to ascend beyond mortality. For 10,000 years they ruled unchallenged, their fleet spanning galaxies, their knowledge unmatched. But then came the silencing, a catastrophe that tore their network apart. The Emperor vanished during an experiment to unify mind and matter. Without the Emperor's consciousness to stabilize their great neural web, Arathon fell into dormancy, its cities shutting down one by one, sleeping, waiting for the heir continuance to return. And somehow impossibly that heir was human. Marcus sank to his knees as the knowledge crashed into him. His body trembled with a flood of alien data. Equations, languages, memories that weren't his. He saw visions of the last empress, cloaked in starlight, her final words echoing through the network before everything went dark. When flesh meets code, the throne shall awaken again. When he came back to himself, he realized that the constructs were waiting, kneeling, forming a circle around him. They regarded him not as an intruder, but as a monarch. Layla whispered, "Marcus, what did they do to you?" He turned toward her, his eyes faintly glowing in the dim light. "They didn't do anything," he said quietly. "They remembered me." Hours passed, or days. It was hard to tell. Time in Arathon flowed strangely. The city was no longer just a ruin. It was a mind, a living network of thought, and Marcus was now its nucleus. Wherever he went, the structures responded. Doors opened before he reached them. Lights flared brighter when he focused. Even the air temperature shifted with his emotions. He learned that the constructs were called wardens, caretakers of the Empire's remaining archives. They possessed fragments of the Emperor's will, programmed to maintain order until his return. Now, with Marcus's genetic pattern completing their ancient algorithm, they saw him as that long-awaited presence. "You are the continuum," said one warden, "the bridge between void and voice." Marcus didn't know what that meant, but the truth was inescapable. Arathon systems were integrating him. His neural implant, once purely human, now pulsed with alien code. He could access fragments of the Empire's archives simply by thinking. He found the Hall of Memories, a vast cathedral lined with crystalline tablets. Each one contained the consciousness of a past ruler, preserved within data streams that shimmered like auroras. As he walked the hall, whispers followed him, the voices of long-dead emperors and empresses, murmuring in languages half-recognizable. The flesh remembers. The spark returns. He carries the warmth we lost. Marcus realized what they were saying. They envied him. Humanity's imperfection, its emotion, its mortality. These were the very things the Arathons had tried to erase in their quest for perfection. And in doing so, they had lost their soul. Layla stood beside him, silent, watching the holographic histories play out. Fleets of silver ships gliding through nebulae. Cities built on moons of sapphire and flame. Wars fought in pure energy. It was beautiful and horrifying. "They destroyed themselves," she murmured. Marcus nodded. "Perfection always does." That night, or what passed for night in the ever-glowing city, Marcus couldn't sleep. His mind was alive with alien memories, dreams that weren't his own. He saw the last emperor standing on a burning world, reaching toward the stars, and felt a voice whispering from the dark. "You are what we could not be, the balance of chaos and order." When he awoke, he found his skin faintly marked with glowing geometric lines. They traced his veins like circuitry, pulsing softly with every heartbeat. The warden stood nearby, motionless, awaiting orders. Layla stared at him, fear and wonder mixing in her eyes. "Marcus, are you still human?" He didn't answer, because he didn't know. Instead, he turned to the central console, a platform of crystalline light that pulsed like a living heart, and reached out. Instantly, the city responded. A surge of power coursed through the hall, and the holographic displays erupted around him, showing entire star maps. The Arathon Empire's reach had once spanned thousands of worlds. Now most of them lay dark. "They're waiting," Marcus whispered. Layla frowned. "Who?" "The cities," he said. "Other Erathon worlds. Dormant, just like this one. They can hear me now." Her eyes widened. "You mean you could wake them?" Marcus hesitated. The thought terrified him, and yet something deep inside urged him forward. "Maybe that's what I meant to do." Layla stepped closer, her voice hard. "Or maybe that's exactly how they fell. You can't trust something that's been sleeping for 50,000 years." He turned to her, his expression calm but distant. "Maybe, but what if they're not sleeping? What if they're waiting to live again?" Silence filled the chamber. Only the hum of the city, the pulse of an empire reborn, echoed through the air. As Marcus stared into the shifting holograms, he saw glimpses of what might come. Fleets awakening, worlds igniting, civilizations reborn under a banner that was both alien and human. For the first time, he felt it, the pull of destiny, heavy and exhilarating. The city didn't just remember him, it obeyed him. Weeks blurred into months. The desert world that had once been nothing but wind and sand now pulsed with light and purpose. From orbit, Kareth 4 no longer looked barren. Its surface gleamed with geometric symmetry, vast energy grids radiating from the heart of Erathon City like veins of gold, the reborn capital of a forgotten empire. At the center of it all stood Marcus Hale, no longer just an archaeologist. He had become something else, something the Wardens now called the Living Throne. Every breath he took echoed through the city's infrastructure. Every thought rippled through the alien networks buried beneath the planet's crust. If he wished for light, the towers illuminated. If he wished for silence, the wind stilled. Erathon obeyed, but command came with consequence. Each day, Marcus felt the divide between man and machine widen. The alien technology interfaced with his nervous system through nanoscopic filaments, threads of light that crawled beneath the skin like veins of quicksilver. He didn't need to eat anymore or sleep. His thoughts were faster, sharper, but colder too. Layla noticed it first. "You haven't blinked in 3 minutes," she said one morning, breaking the heavy quiet of the command spire. Marcus turned to her slowly. His pupils glowed faintly with a golden hue. Time moves differently when you can see it all at once. Layla crossed her arms. "You mean when they show it to you?" "They're not showing me," he said. "They're remembering through me. Erathon's mind doesn't have boundaries anymore. I am its continuation." Layla's jaw tightened. "You mean its prisoner?" He didn't respond. Instead, he looked out across the horizon. A world reborn, cities rising, machines humming like an orchestra tuning to a new conductor. The Wardens had rebuilt massive relay towers, transmitting quantum signals to deep space. Through them, Marcus reached out, and the sleeping world of Erathon began to stir. The first awakening came from Erathon Prime, the original homeworld, a planet of silver seas and crystalline mountains that had lain silent for 50 millennia. When Marcus sent the activation signal, it answered. Towers rose, orbitals ignited, and a planetary chorus sang across the void. The Empire was being reborn. Wardens on Kareth 4 hailed him as the Second Dawn. They spoke in unison, their voices like a hymn. The flesh of continuance walks again. The Empire breathes. And yet, Marcus felt no triumph, only a hollow ache, because with every system he reactivated, a piece of him dissolved into the network. Memories of childhood, the laughter of his old Earth colleagues, the smell of rain. They were slipping away, replaced by data, language, and algorithms from a civilization that had erased emotion in pursuit of eternity. At night, when the city dimmed, he would look into the mirror of the command chamber, and sometimes he didn't recognize the man staring back. His reflection shimmered between human and something else, a figure of light and code wearing a man's face. The Terran Confederacy arrived 3 months later. Their fleet, 30 ships strong, dropped out of FTL above Kareth 4, drawn by the impossible readings emanating from the planet. What they saw defied reason. A human outpost transformed into an alien capital, an entire world pulsing with unclassified energy signatures. At first, they hailed the surface. When Marcus's transmission reached them, his voice was calm but distant. "This world is not lost," he said. "It's waking. Stand down." But to them, he sounded wrong, too measured, too composed, too inhuman. Admiral Yvonne Kruger, commander of the fleet, saw only a threat. "That's not Dr. Hale," she told her crew. "That's an AI using his face. Prepare for containment." Within hours, human ships surrounded the planet. They launched drones, probes, even kinetic strikes, none of which reached the surface. Erathon's automated defenses rose instinctively, forming a lattice of light around the world. The attacks disintegrated in midair, the energy absorbed into the city's shields. Layla confronted him that night. "They're terrified of you," she said. "They think you've gone mad." Marcus stood silently before the glowing map of the solar system, golden lines tracing human ships like insects caught in amber. "Maybe they're right," he said softly. "Maybe I have—" She grabbed his arm. "Then stop. Step away from this before you can't." He looked down at her hand, and for a moment she saw something human flicker in his eyes. Pain. Guilt. "I can't stop," he said finally. "Erathon systems are tied to me now. If I break the link, it all dies again." "Then let it die," she shouted. "Let the past rest." Marcus's voice was almost a whisper. "You don't understand, Layla. They're not machines. They're people. Millions of minds trapped in silence. I can hear them. Every thought, every dream they lost. If I stop, they vanish forever." Layla turned away, tears gathering in her eyes. "And when they're alive again, what will be left of you?" The confrontation with the Terran fleet reached its peak a week later, when one of their ships, TCS Valiant, attempted atmospheric entry. Erathon's defense grid automatically seized at mid-descent. The vessel hung suspended in an invisible web of light, its crew frozen in fear. Marcus stood on the surface, gazing up at the captured ship, and spoke a single command through the city's network. The energy field shimmered, then gently lowered the ship to the desert floor unharmed. He opened a channel. "No more war," he said. "Not between what was and what will be." For a moment, even the wardens were silent. The transmission spread through every Terran frequency. Across the fleet, captains listened to the voice of a man who was no longer entirely human. Calm, resolute, filled with a strange compassion. "I am Marcus Hale of Earth, but I am also Erathon, last of the Starborn Empire. I do not seek conquest. I seek restoration. Stand with us or stand aside." For a long moment, there was no answer. Then, slowly, one by one, the Terran ships withdrew to orbit. They didn't trust him, but they feared what might happen if they fired again. After that day, the galaxy changed. The legend of the human emperor spread like wildfire, whispered in colonies, in starports, in shadow bars. Some called him a savior, others a heretic, but all agreed on one thing. He had become something the universe had never seen, a bridge between mankind and the gods they once feared. Layla stayed, unable to leave him, even as his transformation deepened. She watched as his veins glowed brighter, as his voice took on a harmonic undertone. His humanity was fading, but so too was Erathon's cold perfection. The empire that rose under his guidance was not the same as the old one. It had emotion. It had conscience. The wardens began to question, to feel faint, imperfect sparks of individuality, gifts Marcus unknowingly passed into their code. Layla once asked him, "Do you think they love you?" He smiled faintly. "They don't know what that means. But maybe they will." One night, as the twin moons of Carafor rose over the towers, Layla found him standing atop the throne spire, staring at the stars. His body shimmered with light, his outline barely human. "You've done it," she said quietly. "You brought them back." Marcus's gaze remained fixed on the heavens. "No, I've only begun something that can't be undone." "What do you mean?" He turned to her, and for the briefest second, she saw fear in his glowing. The stars no longer looked distant. From the palace's open spires, they felt close enough to touch, a glittering ocean of possibility that stretched across the void. Below, the reborn city of Erathon pulsed with life, golden towers humming with energy, living machines gliding through the air, and rivers of starlight flowing through crystalline streets. To the newly awakened Arethii, their emperor was not a myth anymore. He had returned, reborn in human flesh. And yet, within all that glory, Marcus Hale felt more alien than ever. He stood at the balcony of the Imperial Throne Hall, watching the artificial sunrise shimmer across the city's dome. Beside him hovered the Council of Voices, spectral projections of Arethii consciousness, translucent beings of light shaped by memory and thought. "You have restored what we lost, Sovereign," said the first voice, its tone serene. "The network breathes again. The fleets respond to your command. The void recognizes a throne." Marcus didn't reply immediately. His eyes traced the horizon, the endless dunes now consumed by silver architecture. "I didn't restore it," he said quietly. "You did. I only pressed the wrong button in the right place." The voice pulsed softly, almost like a chuckle. "Humility is inefficient in rulers. The Empire requires certainty." "Empires built on certainty tend to collapse," Marcus replied. "Yours already did." The chamber fell silent. Even the drones orbiting the room paused midair. After a long moment, the voice spoke again. "Then tell us, Human Emperor, what does your kind build upon, if not certainty?" Marcus turned toward the Spectral Council. "Doubt," he said, "and hope, the belief that we might be wrong, but that we'll try anyway. That's what makes us human." The council flickered, murmuring in light. To them, the concept was paradoxical, weakness redefined as strength. Yet, the city's neural core responded to his words. Somewhere deep in the network, the system shifted, adapting, learning from him. Days became weeks. Marcus presided over the reconstruction of the Arethii Starlink, their vast interstellar communication web. Once, it connected thousands of worlds. Now, it hummed faintly between only a few. But for the first time in millennia, the galaxy heard the voice of Erathon again. Alien civilizations, some young, some ancient, received the signal. And with it came a single message written in both human and Arethii glyphs. "The Empire has awoken, but it seeks not dominion, only dialogue." The reactions were mixed. Some sent emissaries, curious about the rebirth of a myth. Others raised fleets, fearing a resurrected tyrant. Marcus faced them all, not as a conqueror, but as something rarer, a bridge. In one meeting with a delegation from the Velis Concordium, a crystalline species that once warred with the Arethii, the air was thick with tension. Their envoy's voice was sharp and metallic. "Why should we trust the throne that once turned our sons to ash?" Marcus looked at the alien, his expression calm. "Because that throne now has a human sitting on it." He gestured toward the city, visible through the grand window. "We remember what destruction costs. I won't repeat history, not yours, not theirs." The envoy studied him, then lowered its weaponized tendrils. Then perhaps the stars might forgive, after all. The meeting ended in silence, but something profound shifted that day. The word Emperor began to mean something different across the galactic network. Not a title of rule, but of remembrance. Late one night, Marcus wandered alone to the Hall of Memory, a vast chamber where the Arethii store the echoes of their dead. Each wall shimmered with starlit sigils, millions of consciousness fragments preserved in crystalline threads. He placed a hand on one, and the air filled with whispers, fragments of laughter, sorrow, triumph. The voices of a civilization that once thought itself immortal. He spoke softly into the dark. "I've seen what you were. I've seen what you lost. And I know now, maybe you need a fall to remember what living means." A faint light coalesced beside him. The echo of Saren, the AI that once guided him through the city's rebirth. Its form was now more human, shaped from his memory of Layla's face, the woman who had died during the awakening. "You still speak to ghosts, Marcus," Saren said gently. "Maybe that's all an emperor really is," he replied. "A man haunted by the people who built his throne." Saren tilted her head. "You've changed the city. Its algorithms evolved with compassion, a concept that once baffled us. You've made them remember empathy." Marcus smiled faintly. "Then maybe it's time I remember humanity too." In the following months, Marcus began a quiet project. He sent fleets, not to conquer, but to rebuild. Terraforming drones restored dead worlds. Vaults of alien knowledge were open to all species, not just Arethii descendants. And within Erathon itself, For the first time, humans were invited to live among the ancient city's reborn populace. Human scientists, poets, and explorers arrived, wide-eyed and awestruck at what they found. Together, they built something new. Not an empire conquest, but a coalition of memory. Years passed. The legend spread far beyond the known stars. They told of the human emperor, who ruled an empire of machines and spirits, yet carried a heart of a mortal. They said he listened before he commanded, that he wept for every fallen world, even those he never knew, that when he looked into the void, he didn't see conquest, he saw a reflection. One night, standing again on the balcony beneath the starlight, Marcus looked toward the blue shimmer of distant Earth. He hadn't seen it in decades. To the Unearthed, it was a backwater planet, fragile, loud, chaotic. To him, it was home. Set course for Sol, he ordered quietly. The city's voice replied in a tone that almost sounded fond. As you wish, my emperor. The great engines beneath Erathon stirred, and the planet-sized city began to shift, aligning its rings of energy. The empire that once fell into silence now moved again, not as a weapon, but as a messenger. When the skies of Earth filled with light that night, humanity thought it was witnessing the end of the world. Instead, they saw the return of one of their own. A massive city descended through the atmosphere, hovering like a second moon. Broadcast across every channel crackled with a single signal. Marcus Hale's voice, older, softer, but still human. This is Marcus Hale of Earth. Long ago, I unearthed a city buried beneath alien sands. I found a throne that called me emperor. But it was you who made me human again. I returned not as a ruler, but as a reminder that we are capable of more than survival. We are capable of remembrance. And as the world watched, the skies lit up with the colors of 1,000 civilizations, all united under one shared truth, that even in the vast, cold emptiness of the stars, humanity's warmth could rebuild empires. In the chronicles of the future, they would write his epitaph in 2 languages, one human, one Unearthed. He who awakened forgotten, yet never forgot himself. The emperor who remembered humanity.